till it was almost too late to mow the yard. I had to get it done before dark. And I go out there and I give the lawnmower one big pull. It almost starts. Give it a second pull. Voila. It broke off. Wonderful. Supposed to have the yard mowed today according to the boss, my wife. You all know how that is. So anyway, I got to replace the rope on the pull starter. So that's what we're going to do. What I did was hop on the motorcycle and run to Home Depot. Because I could spend all day looking in the garage. Maybe I'd get lucky and find some rope. Maybe not. It took me a couple of seconds to decide whether it was 3/16 or 1/8 inch rope. I went with the 1/8. I think that was closer. If it's too big, you can't use it at all. Too small, it won't last very long. So better off being a little bit small than a little too big, because a little too big, you're never going to get it to fit in the hole. You guys might recognize this lawnmower. It's the one I fiberglassed all 4 wheels back on. And just so you know, it's still working fine. It's been a couple of years. So anyway, if you're worried about that, that's all taken care of. On this particular lawnmower, Briggs & Stratton, 5 horsepower, 22 inch. It's got 3 screws that hold this top piece on, which you got to get off. Actually, they're not screws, they're bolts. I already loosened them, but there's one right here, one on the other side, down low, and one over here. So I'm going to take those off. It's up under a little bit higher than I remembered. And pull this off. And this is what you got. And you got to pull this old cable out because it doesn't do you any good with the old one. And this is where the rope goes in. And then if you look close in here, there's a little tube right about here, and that's where the knot sits, right there. So the question is how many turns do I need to make 7 foot? Because I actually measured the rope, and it's 7 foot of rope in here, and I really have no idea. So the 7 foot is about what I need it to be. And I'm just going to cut it a little bit long, just because what the heck. Now I'm going to got my 7 foot mark right here, so I'm going to take some black magic marker and just mark it. I don't know why I'm doing it, just for a reference, because that's ideally where I want the handle to go. But I'm going to cut it a little bit long, just to be safe. For whatever, an extra foot on here, it doesn't really matter. Handy. I can melt the cord with this, and I just pull the trigger, hold it up there, and go real slow, and it melts it. Of course, you could use a match, a lighter, a candle, anything, but this works really, really good. Now, a couple things I should probably do before I start. One is get the old handle off, the old rope, because I may need it. This may be harder to get out than I think, but it looks like I can grab the end of the knot with this and pull it out. Oh, that wasn't too bad. And I'm going to feed one of the lines, one of the ends, back through it. And just push it up through the bottom. Use my needle nose pliers, reach in there, and see if I can grab it. It's probably not as easy as it's probably going to look. Got another idea. Maybe if I push it in just enough. There's a little hole in there and it's really hard to see. And you can't open the pliers big enough to actually grab it very easy. But I think if I take a screwdriver and poke it from the other side, I can probably get the rope to come out a little bit. Well, I did. I can actually probably just get it this way. But since I got the needle nose right here, I'm going to make it easy for myself and just snatch it. Now this is the end. It's going to be outside the mower, so I'm going to go and tie a knot in it. just so I don't lose it. Most likely I'm going to retie this knot at the 7-foot mark. But anyway, for now, it's on there tied. And I pull this back. I think I need, or possibly a screwdriver, hopefully not. And most likely the needle nose pliers, because eventually I'm going to have to grab the rope out of here and pull it out. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see very much of this. And then you have to know which way to turn it. Remember, you want to spring back to pull the rope in. So turn it and see if it springs back. It springs back that way and it doesn't go that way. So I'm going to have to wind it up so that it springs back. I have to wind it up so it's going to spring back. So I'm going to go, in this case, counterclockwise. Now I have no idea how many turns it's going to take. If I went around the outside edge of this, time, right there. So that's about a foot. So I'm going to guess I need 7 foot, so 7 turns ought to be right. A lot of times there's a little bit of play at the beginning, and so I'm going to go 8. And that should take up the extra play, whatever, in order to keep the string tight. And okay, so we're going to go 8 turns. And I decided it goes counterclockwise, so I'm going to, there's a little knob here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little, should probably get better lighting so you can actually see what I'm doing. I've got a knob sticking there, so I'm going to use that to kind of count with. You would have thought, well, that's actually where the end of the spring is. I can see the spring is bent, sticking out right there and caught on there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 actually feels pretty good, but like I said, I don't want to get short, so I'm going to go 8. So it doesn't break the spring. Okay, I'm lining this hole up with this hole on the outside here. So I got it 8 turns, and I got my end of my rope here, and I'm going to feed it in the outside through this hole. Remember, the handle's on the other end of this. Feed it in, and I'm going to try to line it up with that hole. It's a little bit up in my lap, so it's not trying to pull out of my hand. I was holding it, I went and got a piece of wire and stuck it in the hole. This might help me line it up better, but I think the main problem is on the end of this rope here, it's probably hard to see, find out where the lens is. It's kind of fat. I probably should have melted that into a point. And that might have made it a little easier. Actually, I will do that. Since I got the wire in here, I can hold it there. I'm going to go ahead and melt it. Better? I don't know. We'll have to see. Still pretty warm. Okay, now I'm going to line it up with that wire. I'm just trying to see where it lines up straight. That looks pretty good right there. Too much angle. That's about right there. So I'm going to stuff it in. Oh, look at there. Got it on the first try. And didn't even have to use the needle nose pliers. Got it out like that. And I can actually let it unspin. Hold the end here. Well, I can tell now, see, I got a lot of rope over here now. It's actually, the rope is hitting the outside of the case, but it did cross the 7-foot mark, but I actually cheated because there's almost a foot here. But I'm going to think that's going to be pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot with this. Now without burning my cord, I'm going to cut about a 1/4 inch past the knot and melt it off. I'm going to pull my rope out so that this knot gets tucked in there. Right now it can't because the rope's pulled on there. I'll have to pull it all of it out. There you go, and it's tucked in all by itself right where it's supposed to go. And I'll let it go back in. And I got a little less than a foot there. So what I need to do now is get rid of this little bit here, which is not a problem because all I got to do is pull the end of this about that far, maybe a little bit further, tie a knot. Actually, I had to tie a little bit better than just a loop like that. Let me go around and back in there, so that's a double. That's pretty good, as long as I can get it stuck into the handle, which I do. And now I just got to melt this little bit here off. I'm using a 3/8 socket ratchet wrench to unbolt all the stuff and put it back together, in case you guys were wondering. Okay, get the old rope out of the way. This thing goes on. This actually goes inside of there. Just right on there, just like so. Yep, it engages. And I didn't lose my nuts of the bolts. They're right here. One, of course, goes on this side. One over here, and I'm just loosening it, lightly putting them in right now, just to make sure I don't cross thread anything. And the one on the other side, it's kind of a little bit harder to see. It's right next to the spark plug, actually up about just above it, really. Yard, but let's see if the sucker will start anyway. Gonna pump it 10 times. 2, 3, I don't know about 10, maybe 5, 4, 5, 6. That's how you replace the string or the rope on your lawnmower, your pull lawnmower. Only problems I really had was not melting the rope into a point. And once I got that and I lined the hole up using that piece of wire, it went straight in, no problem. I was prepared to have to use needle nose pliers to yank it out, to tie my little knot and put it back in. Didn't have to do that because it came right out with that point. So that's the trick, putting the point on there. And